It's delightful to be here, and this is such an important thing to be included in that I really appreciate it. Thank you, Waqas, for inviting me. You sent out a very detailed email telling us exactly what we needed to do, and that the themes were peace, sustainability, and justice, and I will try to address those. I'm a longtime community activist. Much of my activism has been in the gay and lesbian community. I'm a psychotherapist. I've been in private practice here in Atlanta for over 30 years, so I have seen most of what there is to see and heard most of what there is to hear. I practice now out of my home nearby in Decatur, and I'm a poet and a writer, so let me spend my other 7.5 minutes reading you some poetry. The first poem I'd like to read you is from my first book of poems called Mortal Love, which was published 20 years ago or so. This is called koan. If you don't know what a koan is, it's a Zen Buddhist rhythm. And there's several that are famous that come to mind. What is the sound of one hand clapping? It's a question without an answer. Another koan is, what was your face before you were born? And so this is my answer to that koan. My face before my birth was half my father's face, looking back into eternity. The half him that was me fought countless wars, loved myriad women, sired 1,000 sons, 1,000 daughters. I am the end of all that. I am fruit ripening with no seed to plant, no progeny to offer a crowded world. My gift is who I am, outside of history, facing time dissolving in an ever-present moment, with gentle men whose loving knows no purpose, but to kindle in our hearts the quiet time of peace. So here's one about sustainability. I just read a very interesting book called The Bright Continent, which is about Africa, written by a Nigerian journalist. And I read that because I was traveling in Africa. I was in Ghana a couple of weeks ago. And because if you fly from the United States to anywhere east, like Africa or India, you can stop in Europe and get off the plane. You can have 2 trips for the price of 1. So I went to Ghana for 2 weeks, and then I stopped and visited another friend in Germany. Now, the contrast between these two places could not be more stark in terms of Ghana being a very lean economy where everything is utilized, there's very little waste. It's fascinating to see how much people do with what they have. And then Germany, of course, is one of the fat economies like the United States. And after no cheese for 2 weeks, being in Germany and being presented with a table full of cheese, I felt like I had gone to heaven. But this, of course, is about sort of the price of all of that. It's called Feed. It's from my second book, Pink Zinnia. You learn through a quirk, a random spike in logic, that $20 feeds in schools an African school child for a year in Burkina Faso. You respond by thinking, under $10 a pound for Stilton cheese at Whole Foods is a good buy for a gourmet. $10 buys the books, the most expensive part of an African child's education. You up the ante at IKEA, spend 20 plus the 10 plus another 5 on pretty things you don't need. 40 buys a beehive in Honduras, 50 a goat in Rwanda, 2 people eat at Chili's, add 2 margaritas, tax and tip, you max 50. The cost of a Hummer or a rich man's tithe fills a clinic in Bangladesh or the Mississippi Delta, serving 10,000 people birth to grave. You learn through a quirk, a random spike of logic, that all of humankind share the same stomach of hunger and the same heart, naked at the creative law. And for the justice part, I've been living in Atlanta, since the late 70s, and I've lived in the South for most of my life. So one of the things that has been around me and a part of my life experience is the civil rights movement. And so social justice and how that is accomplished is something that has been, very much a part of my awareness. From my vantage point, there are two things that have created the momentum for social justice, particularly in the racial area here in the South where segregation needed to end. One is the political movement that we all know about: Martin Luther King, Andrew Young, John Lewis, the organizing, the marches, the legislation that came as a result of that. But another very strong element in social change is art and music, which is part of why we're here today. And so this poem is about two odd couples, that were part of that movement for social change. One musical and one political. It's called Odd Couples. Behind every great man is a great man. Ellington's muse, his acknowledged better half, Billy Strayhorn, composed between his lines. Martin King, Bayard Rustin had his back. Planned the theater of the march that made him great, humbly, proudly, walked in his shadow. Billy and Bayard, sons of the times when black men should work a whole year, held theirs up from behind the scenes. Sons of the times back in the day when being gay made you invisible, they flashed their lights ahead of them on Duke Ellington and the Reverend Dr. King, who shone bright for all the world to see the fullness of their humanity. Thank you.